If you ever felt like an outsider in traditional religious spaces, or if you are currently walking through a season of intense, exhausting transition, this episode is your green light to breathe. Today, my friend Bracy Wevers joins me to share how painful collapse from stress exhaustion in 2023 completely unraveled her old ways of thinking and birthed a stunning life of encounter. We are diving into the practicality of wonderful heavenly rooms where we paint alongside of Vincent van Gogh and experience a revelation of oneness with Jesus that changes our physical body. And if you are ready to stop performing, shake off the trauma of the past, and step into that whimsical, co-creating destiny that you were made for, stay tuned. You are about to be provoked to be a beautiful spiritual jealousy. I'll see you on the inside. Hello from the Pacific Northwest. This is Kristen from KristenWambach.com, and you're listening to Interviewing Jesus podcast. Answer me this. How does a Baptist farm girl from Oregon stumble upon the mystical nature of Christ, the love of God? If you're like me, Jesus has redefined what you used to say yes to. Join me and my guests on a mystical journey. But before we talk about the spiritual woo-woo, you need to know I am totally sold out to Jesus. It's amazing what the love of God reveals. Hello and welcome back to Interviewing Jesus podcast, where we get access to the heart of Jesus for supernatural wisdom, and he completely rewrites our lives. I'm your hostess, Kristen Wambach, and today's conversation is going to be incredibly special and a whole bunch of fun. My guest today is someone I've had the joy of connecting with before. So this feels less like a formal interview and much more like pulling up our chairs and a deep, beautiful conversation between friends. Bracy Wevers is a multifaceted artist. She is a musician, a songwriter, a recording artist, painter, and now an author. Yay! And she is a light worker and a called out voice who passionately moves in the heavenly realms, trusting her spiritual intuition to usher her into a beautiful new era of awakening. Oh, we have so much in common here. She just released her debut book, A Mystic's Journey, A Life of Encounter. This book is a compelling, heart-wrenching, and ultimately triumphant account of what happens when you move past standard religion and step into a lifestyle completely transformed by the real encounters with God, a living God. What I love most is that Bracy doesn't just create art, she lives it. She's like a walking paintbrush here, folks. And in fact, she painted the gorgeous artwork that sits right on the front cover of her book. Bracy, my Washington mystic friend, welcome to the show. It's so wonderful to have you here. Woo!
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being invited. This is very special and precious.
Before we deep dive into the water here, your story, I have to start with that beautiful and gorgeous cover. You were talking about it before we got to recording. As an artist who creates from a place of oneness with Holy Spirit, tell us about the moment you painted this cover. What were you and Jesus doing, seeing, experiencing, perceiving together?
Well, that was a journey. Like everything's a journey. I had actually, I'd been painting for about 7 or 8 months. I had just started painting 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in November. And I have 2 daughters who are graphic designers. And so I asked one, and she's like, I don't know. The other one's like, ah. And so the older one goes, Mommy, you should paint your cover. And I was like, you just don't want to do it. And she's like, no, that's not what that is. So she kind of forced me to paint it. And I didn't have the skill or like the knowledge or the confidence, to paint it. And so I went into Gemini and Google, and I wanted to make it a Van Gogh-y kind of feel on it. And so I just went through these prompts and ended up with about 5 pictures that caught my eye. And I really liked, and this part turned into that. So I started painting, got the background, and used the colors that I love, the phthalo blue and the phthalo green. Oh my gosh. And started to paint the portal. I call it a portal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's several portals.
I agree. I was going to ask you how many ringlets are there. So,
well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the big one. But it's like a entering in, but so I'm painting, and I put on Hertz frequency. And there's this guy on Spotify that does the solfeggio thing and walks you through a whole bunch of Hertz frequencies. And so I'm sitting there, and I feel, and when I was first painting, my ancestors and my cloud of witnesses would show up, because I think I should have been painting for a long time. They're like, oh, finally, you got your brushes out. And I'm painting the portal, and there's these just thin little lines that I'm making. I knew I needed to have it like a concentric thing, not like a snail, but just rings of whatever. And I had just gotten a feathery type brush, which I love a lot. And I started to paint the outside, and the angels are like, no more. And I'm like, oh, you mean like this? And they're like, no, more. And they're all going, more. And I'm painting, and I finally just started whisking it out to the edges, and they're like, more, they're like, and I'm like this, and that's how it ended up being so big. It wasn't that big before, but it, yeah. So that's all the feathering, and it's kind of a zone. So, okay, my husband gave me a gift card for a painting class. And I was so nervous because I can go in my music. We all have kind of rooms where our experience is, I guess, where, and my music room is full. I can go in there and tap into it. But I went into my art room in the heavens, or whatever you want to call it, and there was nothing in there. It was all empty. So I'm like with my brush at the beginning, and now it's kind of full. But I didn't have anything to really I didn't have any experience, right? I didn't have any confidence, and my negative self-talk was going on and on. You suck, you don't know how, and and I'm like, what? Because I don't negative self-talk, but gosh, that was horrendous. So I started putting on Hertz frequencies just to kind of, I'm like, let's see what this does, right? And every single time, I mean, heaven would show up, but others would show up. I really love Vincent van Gogh, and he showed up one time, and I was like, how do I do this grass? And so he was showing me how to paint. And it's like ancestors show up, and angels show up, and all of a sudden I'm painting, and 4 hours goes by, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go eat dinner. And so it becomes this experience like happens when I sing and do worship and record songs and play and stuff, which is interesting because I find that from painting, it's given me this confidence. I don't know, maybe you'll know, because when you sing and play and write, it's like immediate. You don't see like a validation or whatever. You don't, but with painting, it's a validate. You look at it and go, whoa, and every single painting, I'm in it going, I can't, I hate this. And she's like, step back. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So
Mm-hmm.
it's given a confidence that I didn't have before, which is interesting that the other things didn't do that. Like
Mm-hmm.
publishing the book or singing, or it didn't give me that thing that painting does. I don't know if painting is in another realm of like your brain, like music is in a different part of your brain, but
Can I just pause our conversation for 1 second? If you're listening to this and you can feel your heart start to stir, do me a favor. I want you to be a part of this mission. Hit the follow button and subscribe. The reason why I ask is that as we grow this community, it allows me to bring even more profound voices and exclusive access to the heart of Jesus directly to you. I am so honored you are here with me, and I don't want you to miss a single Monday morning tool we have coming next. It probably is because it's tied to your kinetic. Probably is.
right. But it just came out that way, and it came out. I was really proud of it, and I thought it was finished. And I took it to my painting teacher. She's in Camas. She's absolutely amazing. And I was really proud of the color that I had mixed for the trees. And she's like, she takes my brush and she'll sit down and, she'll paint in your painting. And I'm fine with that. But this time she went over my trees. And I was sitting there going,
Those are
okay.
my trees.
Okay. And she goes in there with the dark, and I'm like, and she goes, it's okay. Just hang on. Just breathe. And then she comes in with the back of this.
Uh-huh.
And then the sea of glass opens up. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. That's it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 4 strokes from her.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
to get
so
the light behind is really a lot of practice to get the light behind.
yeah, we have to do the dark front and the light. So it's all learning, and I love it.
Yes. Now, Bracy, for our listeners, I am going to bring in, because you said a lot right there, and I want to pull those little things. Now,
Okay.
we are talking mystical here today. And this doesn't surprise you if you've been listening to my channel for a while, but let's clarify the word mystic. And my favorite quote is from Prophet Paul Cain. He says, it's better to be a mystic and be different, because if being a mystic means you see the invisible, hear the inaudible, and feel the intangible, then I want to be a mystic. And so just to let everybody know, and I was taking notes here immediately, Bracy talked about the cloud of witnesses, her ancestors and family, and that she had an art room in heaven. I'll say yes and amen. When you step through the veil that Jesus rent with his life and his obedience for the love for us, you step through that veil and hello, there is heaven. And God develops our spiritual perceptions, seeing, hearing, tasting, painting, everything. And then we see what he has prepared for us and get to engage it. Anything you want to add on top of that, Bracy?
It's been surprise. It's shocking to me that I can even painted that. So I take a painting class Tuesday nights with Alita Art in Camas. And if you're in the area, do it. And she makes everybody paint the same barn, and she teaches you a little bit of technique and color mixing and stuff. And, painting is like up close. You're looking at it, and it doesn't look, you're like, I don't know. But you step back and something pops out, like little tiny strokes become something like I think it's magic. Yeah. Like color, and I gasp every time. Like when I first mixed turquoise, I mean, I still gasp when I do it. I'm like, oh my God, how do those 3 do that? And it was like, I painted one painting in one go. It's out in the hallway, and it's this beach scene, and it was supposed to be the cover for my second book. This is 3 canvases that I've gone through where the canvas went, mm-mm. So I'm painting it, and I get to it, and I went, oh God, it's not it. She goes, no, that's not it. She goes, try this. And I did it, and it came out to this beautiful water bluey thing. And it's all like little lines. And then I stepped back and went, oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Whoa. And I'm always like gasping that I don't know. It's like a magical thing. I don't know.
I can relate with what you're saying. Years ago, while I was preaching, I had an encounter and I walked into at that time, it was the mantle room. But what was so interesting about the mantle room in heaven, it was full of eyes. It was full of all the eyes of the Lord, looking to and fro. And so I actually painted that picture. I'd never done it.
Oh, wow.
I will post it in the YouTube. I'll put it in the YouTube so you guys can see it. And I just went, oh my gosh. But God loves it when his kids create.
I've been saying this for, a long time. I don't want to ever not be overwhelmed. Like every time something manifests or every time something happens or magic happens or things, synchronicities and all that stuff. And every time I'm like, I don't want to ever stop, like, and especially in my painting, it's like, I step back and just go, how did that even happen? And what's interesting now is that I'm trying to paint the cover for my second book. So I went and bought so I've been in the cheap canvases, right? Cause I was like a student. And then I went to the second tier and now I'm in level 3, which is a different kind of canvas. It has a wood back and all that stuff. And they're over there because I don't know if I'm ready yet. I have to go through my other canvases before I can actually move on. That's what it feels like to me. So these have to be more intentional, right? I haven't been intentional. I've just been painting and kind of, where should I go and what should I do? And, let's put this color here and let's see what orange looks like in there. But now I feel like I need to be like more, intentional in what I'm producing. Cause I think we all make an impact in all the things that we do, right? So, you make an impact in your voice and what you write and what you sing, what you produce, your book, what people read. And so the paintings have an impact, I want people to go into heaven. I want people to have that experience that they look at it and go, whoa, they sit there and go into some kind of encounter. So, yeah.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. In your experience, what is the difference between, I'll say, religious journey, where you began, and now a mystical encounter with the person Jesus?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Well, the religious part, I now call the matrix. And I was in ministry for 30 years. I thought I was on the edge, right? I'm doing Tehillah worship, the progression of learning what spontaneous is and what Tehillah worship is, which is a Hebrew word it's one of the 7 Hebrew words for praise. And it's the word where God inhabits what you're seeing. So you'll sing a song and then you'll launch out and you'll feel the weight of his presence hit that. So we used to do just that. I'm like, let's get rid of the songs. Let's just do that. So we do that for like 4 and 5 hours, this last house of prayer that I started. And so it all shifted. What is that?
It's Tehillah on the very last page of my book for 440.
Nice. Yes.
Specific.
Yes. I love it. Ray Hughes says rhymes with tequila.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're different. So you noticed the difference. I mean, you were on the edge when you were serving in what we would call church ministry at that time.
Well, I was never really in. So I would go in. I would try to fit in. I'd try to be a good little fish and swim with everybody else. But something about me and who I am and how I created, they wouldn't let me do what I wanted to do, right? And so I started off in church, and immediately when I was in France, when I would say the awakening, I got saved when I was 16 and had the whole thing. And then when I turned like 40, I was in France and had this encounter, and, was forced myself on the worship team because they were horrible. I mean, it was just awful. I went out and said, you guys need a female singer, and I'm it. And I went in my car and went, what are you? I didn't even know what worship was. I'd been in a Lutheran church. And so first time I sang, I went into this heavenly encounter and saw my timeline, and so I was and then started Unity in Christ with a friend. And that was all divinely, but it's also, for me, it's always been on the peripheral, right? I'm always on the peripheral doing what God is telling me to do while the matrix is kind of judging it. Well, you need a pastor. I'm like, that's not what God told me. That's not what he told all of us at the same time, and we came at different strands. So, yeah, thanks for sharing, And so it's been that way for probably 25, 30 years. So I've always tried to go in and be a little fish, and swim with others and swim in the same way. But it's like, I went to Bible school and I just had questions, this isn't what, what I'm seeing. Anyway, and they didn't believe in deliverance, so I showed them my deliverance story, and I'm like, what do I do with this? So there was always kind of the iron thing, sharpening. And I'm sharpening a lot for people, I guess. I don't know. But so I've always kind of been on the outside, but still on the fringe. Still on the edge, but still 1 foot in the matrix and 1 foot in becoming a son, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's happening right now as we head into this new age of Aquarius, into this new era that we're all awakening and we're waking up. But the real unraveling happened in 2023. I dropped Northgate House of Joy, which was when we were doing events and monthly, 4 or 5 hour spontaneous Tehillah worship, which was shocking because we would sing things and then they'd show up in the news. One time we went in and rescued all these children, and on the news, then the next day, 2,500 children, it was just like, are we like, it was weird. Every time we'd have something like that would validate what we were doing. And so I dropped that, and I had to drop it. I was a middle school teacher, and I don't know if that's enough to say that right there. But
I thought you were special needs middle school.
No, I was ELL, ESL kids, foreign kids. Yes. Okay. And that period I call my smoking and cussing phase, because it was very difficult and very hard. And I thought the smoking was going to help me. And it actually might have, because it was so hard. It was so hard. So I retired in June 2023 and I collapsed. I had PTSD from a couple of things that I taught at a naughty school. I mean, these kids, I'm telling you, behavior, 80% reduced lunch. It was just, I actually love that. Anyway, and my kids were great, right? They were still, I could still I'm going to email your mom, I'm dear Mrs., and they'd be like, no, but it was the general population that was very scary kids. So I had PTSD, I had stress exhaustion from all the tension and the pressure that was going on at the moment. I was in deep survival mode on all levels. I was pressed on all sides. I don't even know. I look back and I don't even know I don't even know how I made it through. Bracy did such a good job. Oh my God. She was so strong. She held it, man. She held me through. So the day that I retired, I'm driving home and I'm crying and I'm like relieved and I'm like, I made it. I made the whole way home, and I immediately collapsed for 4 months. I was ill. I mean, I was on this I'll call my death. This is my third book. My death spiral. I was like everything. I knew I was dying. I knew I was dying. I could feel it. I could feel the pull of death coming for me. And so I just went to sleep. I slept all day, all morning, all afternoon, all night long for like 4 months. And in the midst of all that, I was seeing myself floating in the uncreated darkness, right? And just being washed and being, the breath just around me, holding me. And I was just, I was exhausted. I mean, it wasn't good. And all the things that the Lord had been teaching me, all the points of everything, I unraveled. I was like in a burrito, and I unraveled, and I fell to the bottom. And I thought, and they all the points just kind of clicked together like snaps. It just went, and I was at the bottom going, whoa, wait a minute. Do I still believe in Jesus? And he goes, I'm right here. And I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good. Everything else has gone. Everything else was gone. I mean, well, I mean, Ian Clayton started it with the unraveling our belief systems, right? Our sacred cows, and everything was like gone. And this was a period of like 18 months where I just concentrated on myself. I told everybody else no. I had like 3 friends. I was so isolated, but I had to be, because I had disconnected so much from my own self, from my own body, from my own whatever desires, whatever, that I couldn't even hear my body screaming. And so I started on this health journey, and it was, one little thing after the other. And it lasted about 18 months, and I knew it was going to last 18 months. And then it ended 18 months. And I'm like, okay. And then I went on this other journey, and now I know, like from today, from like right now, all that is over. It's all over. All that struggle and whatever that was. And so it's been a journey of navigating the things being put in my pathway, which are very controversial and not in the box or the matrix or even close to being there. And so the one thing that is important, I mean, it's fundamental, is that if you don't have a revelation of oneness, you can't grow into a son. That's what I think. And we sing about, oh, we're one, we are one, all that. But it's a revelation from the spirit of wisdom and revelation that brings understanding, and then your body knows you are. So I started to understand I'm him. Like I stood up in my church, it was called the Portal. It was a big house church. And I said, I'm him and he's me. And everyone went, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm him and he is me. So, and then it was this whole journey, just, saying things and people going, what? So, and then getting into Gila worship and people coming in and going, what are you doing? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just, it's okay. You don't have to stay. Because when God's telling you to do something, it doesn't make any sense. Like, who was it that sat on his left side naked? It was Isaiah for a year. I mean, I wasn't naked.
Yeah, we can all get on our face and thank God that he hasn't asked us to do that.
You know what I mean? Sometimes when the Lord is, that's why I think we have to stop like judging, right? We have to get into this loving community building, because everyone brings their fragment, their fractal of what is supposed to be built together, right? Like Livingstone, like everyone coming together. You do that. Well, let me see if I can help you, instead of, oh, that's demonic and you need to blah, blah, blah. There's a shifting that's happening, and we're here to build that. We chose to be here to build that. And I'm very excited that I chose this moment in time. to build that, and that I'm here and I made it. We made it.
We did make it.
Made it. I mean, now we get to frolic and be whimsical.
Frolic and be whimsical.
Yeah, because it's a surrender. It's a surrender to the flow. If once you know you're one, right? I mean, it shifts everything. It shifted everything for me. It was a knowing that I hadn't known before, and I'd been talking about oneness for a long time, right? So it comes from inspiration, revelation, something being downloaded into you, renewing your mind. It actually came into my body. I felt it like inhabit my body and my heart, and then it was different after that. I couldn't go back to the other side of not knowing that. That's why when people sing about how come here, I'm like, we're here. We can't sing the things that we did before because they just don't they don't resonate anymore. The frequency has shifted. And so the divide it's already, I think it already happened, but there's a divide and the old systems are crumbling. Anyway, I'm getting off topic.
When you originally described your portal and all the different rings and how the feathery paintbrush pulled, because those paintbrushes, they actually are moving the medium of the paint with its natural hair bristles. So you were pulling the paint, pulling the manifestation. But what it reminded me of from the original Jurassic Park movie where the T-Rex went like boom on the ground. And then all of a sudden you saw the different rings.
The ripples.
And that's what it reminded me of, is sound moving out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely a frequency thing, which is that's been my obsession for, I don't know, 25 years is frequency. And now we're actually learning, through quantum and all that, the science of it. Because I always used to say science is going to prove there's a creator. Science is going to prove it. And it actually is. And it was hidden from us. I was watching the Oppenheimer movie because I love Cillian Murphy. Well, I like that movie anyway. And they were talking about quantum and how that was the Jew math, right? And they had put the Jews over to the side and that was their way of doing math, but we were doing math in a different way. And I just thought they hid that from us because I was never taught quantum. My husband, who's French, he was never taught quantum like ever. And so David Van Koovering kind of opened all that for us, right? He just kind of opened it, and then he hooked up with Ian and all those guys, and and they're taking frequency out of oxygen and putting it into music, and so the frequency. I guess that would be cool, is if people actually look at it and counter it, that they're feeling that frequency. I had a lady. I just published my book, and I'm in a creative space with Justin and Ginny John, and that's how I found my publisher. And they do Zooms every month or 6 weeks or something. And I put my book in there, and this lady contacted me in Facebook Messenger and said, "You don't know me, but I had a dream about you." And I'm like, "Okay, what was your dream?" She goes, "I saw your full name written out." And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." She goes, "That's it." And she goes, "I have to have your painting." And I'm like, "Okay." So I didn't know you could sell your paintings. And so she goes, I'm like, "I can never, you'd have to give me $25,000 for me to sell this painting. I'll give you a print, but I'll print you a print off." And so I went and had it scanned, and she bought a print, and she was like, with in the first weeks of doing that, she was like, this is so important for you. This is so important. I'm going to hang it in my house. And I just found that astounding. When things out of your sphere of what you are looking for, the validation or whatever that is, right, comes, and it just, it's not over. It's just hits me in my chest every time. Like, and maybe it's like okay, this is the pathway, right? You give up so many things. I give up so many things, drop so many things, so many people, right? So many things. And, but you have to drop them for other things to open up, right? You have to make space for what's coming. And, I think that's what the, what do I call it? My death spiral was shedding all the things that couldn't go forward with me. And so, and what was interesting is you contacted me like immediately. You're like, oh, we need to talk about your book. And so, and then I'd hurt my back, like in the middle of all that. Like I had 2 herniated discs from making my bed. It's the BLT. So bend, lift, and twist. So I went to make my bed and I threw my cover and and my discs went, and that was a journey. And so when my book came out, I had all these plans for my book. I was going to do a launch. I was going to do a party. I was going to do all this stuff. But I'm laying in my bed on TikTok going, this is not what I thought. And then I thought, God can do it, even if you're, in a wheelchair, even if you're on your bed, laying down, you can't even, and then all this creativity came out. I launched my first TikTok video. I launched my YouTube channel. Maybe we should all just lie down. Maybe we should all just lie down and rest, because all that stuff just came flooding out of me. And, but I didn't have anywhere to go. So we all should just be lying down and resting, I guess.
Rest is very important.
Yeah. And that was the forced rest.
Yeah,
I mean, that was definitely, I couldn't sit down for 4 months. I could only stand and lie down. So my husband is driving me to the chiropractor. I'm laying down in the back because I can't sit. It was, anyway. Yeah.
Your book points to finding our destiny on the earth. How does it do that? How did you communicate that to us? Take your experience and then you put your experience on the pages for readers to be able to perceive it.
So one of the things I was recognizing, I'll give myself for an example. So I started 3 houses of prayer. I started the Northgate House of Prayer, and then I took over Vancouver House of Prayer. That kind of ended, and then I started Northgate House of Prayer, and that became Northgate House of Joy. And what I noticed is, so we know from quantum that our body has a song, has a frequency, right? That we sing a certain song. That's why we like certain things. People always sing the same kind of melody, same kind of sound, right? And so I find that, so for 20 years, I've been singing, wake up, hit those walls of tradition, what man made, every time I would sing. I'd always go there. And I think we each sing or speak about or create the same kind of message. I've looked at other people that like were on my team and singers, and they're singing a certain thing, a certain aspect, certain facet, certain fractal of his image, right? His multifacetedness. We're singing that fractal. We're singing that part. And if you pay attention, which I don't think people are paying attention, I think people are outward looking. They're looking at other things. They're so the the shift is going inward and dealing with, first of all, our trauma, our shadows. I love my shadow. I love her so much. I embraced her, and that brought a lot of healing. And so the shift is the inward self-awareness, the focus on, well, I was forced to go inward, take care of my body, take care of what was happening in my mind, all the things that were shedding, all the paradigms and the mindsets that were gone and the paradigms that were shifting into this thing that I was just like, I'm going to go frolic. I don't know. And people say, well, what do you think about that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really care. And so I had to, because I couldn't I had to focus on myself. And so the self-awareness of discovering who Bracy is, right? Who Bracy is, and then moving into this divine feminine Sarah energy, right? I can feel it. And it was 2011 in Coeur d'Alene. I don't know if you were there at the Inn Clayton. Mm-hmm. And I was in the middle of Janet Hune, that painter, who's just absolutely amazing. I love her so much. I was sitting in worship, and I got drunk walking in the door. I mean, I could have left within the first hour. I was like, I'm done. And I'm sitting there in the back because I'm like, I gotta sit down for a minute. And the Lord goes, I'm shifting you from Bracy to Sarah. And I went, oh, okay, whatever. And I could see it. And now I see it now as Bracy and the masculine and the survival, being able to deal with all the things and all that, and then moving into more a divine feminine softness. And it's happening in my marriage. It's like this transition. But when you're focusing on yourself, which the church tells us not to do that, tells us we have to look outward, but you can't. I started understanding who I am and how I was made, and my shadow, the darkness, my beautiful light, dark self being healed. And I started to understand that I know that I'm here for my voice. I know that. And I know that from just being shown that. So if you're paying attention in your life and you're looking back, maybe you need to make a timeline and look back at, the different years. And I've done that twice now, and see where things happen, where trauma happened, where this happened, where it led me here or there, or not there, or not with those, or, protection of whatever. You'll discover how you're made, what your actual purpose is. Mine is to, and it's evolved. Now mine is to sing over the earth, to raise the frequency of the earth, mm-hmm. to raise the consciousness of the earth, to awaken. And it's always been that, but it's different now. And so if you're paying attention to yourself, to how you move, how you breathe, how you go about your day, what you think about, where the weight of what you do, where it lands, where God is going, yeah, that's it right there. Or, yeah, not that. And it's subtle sometimes. Sometimes it's a big thing. But my voice, I remember when I was first learning how to sing spontaneously. And I did that because when I forced myself on the French worship team, all the songs were in French and I didn't know them. So I just went off. I'd never done that. I just started singing. This angel showed up and goes, sing this. And I'm like, okay, and he followed me around every time I'd sing so that I could, he would sing it. I would see it in heaven, and he's like this frolicky little elf-like guy, and he would go on these notes, and then I would just sing those notes. Mm-hmm. And I did that because I didn't know the songs in French. It was all just I thought it was a mistake, but it wasn't. But if you're paying attention, oh yeah, I was going to say, okay, so I'm in my French church, teeny tiny church, and the musicians all had gone on vacation. So it was just me and this other girl, And she's like, let's just do a cappella. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can totally do that. So we start singing and I go off. And the next thing I hear on my left is Ewa, this lady's on the ground getting delivered. And so I would sing and I'd hear her and then I'd stop and she would stop. And then I'd sing and this went on for like, I don't know. And she got up from the floor and went, don't sing anymore. And so every time I would see her, she'd go, that's too powerful. And then I was like, oh, whoa, there's something in the frequency in our what we're emitting that delivers, our aura, whatever. People come into our aura and, things are shifting and things are happening. So I think it's paying attention to your own self and how you were created and loving yourself, of how instead of hating on yourself, you love yourself and how everything about me is beautiful and creative. And he made me even all the edges, all the stuff that, might not be desirable. I don't know. But I love all of that. I love all that aspect about the fullness of each one of us, right? Is beautiful and precious and glorious. And and I think it's time for all of us to, open our, like Superman, open up ourselves and just not care anymore. Not care what anybody's doing. Just go create, go do what you got to do and find me because I'll create with you because I love all that.
Maybe I think we can create a new word because when you say not care, that doesn't appropriately express what you just said because actually you care greatly and you're willing to let your care and your divided focus. It's not undivided. It's a divided focus of, okay, God, here you are in me, and this is what we look like. That is totally caring.
Yeah, I care a lot. I've tried really hard not to care, but caring in a weird way, in an ego-driven way, caring, letting people be who they are, and I'm being taken into all these interesting circles. I am in so many creative, out there circles that it's just interesting. It's new agey. It's other weird, stargates and Pleiades and groups. And I, just being in, because I love sound baths. I love spa treatments. I mean, that is like, if you ever want to like befriend me, it's like, give me a massage or something. But, it's like, I just love all that. I love spa. I love anything, water, and so anytime there's a sound bath, I try to go. And, it ends up being all these really, really interesting people. And I find that in the matrix, in the church, everyone is so judgy. Like I went to an ecstatic dance in Portland and there was probably about 80 people in there. It was a huge room and they're all like hippies, and we're all dressed, to dance. And it's 90 minutes of this person putting together a playlist and they do a circle time and tell you, don't go up to people if they don't want you to, kind of giving, don't touch them, don't get in their face. And if they want to, that's fine. And dancing. And if you have a revelation, there's a bell to ring and you write everything down and then there's a circle time, but nobody's judging in there. Nobody. Like it was so loving and free. And I'm like, why can't we do that? We're supposed to be dancing. I want to create a dance church, like Dance Like David Church, and because now people are starting to create house music and techno music that are Christian, and it's coming. Trance, the dance trance, yeah.
The dance trance.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do that for a long time. Just as not just exercise. Because I think we're getting fat just sitting there listening to somebody. But and fat spiritually, where do you use all that? But it's also somatic, somatic exercises and movements that your body needs to release the trauma from your lifetime, right? It's that movement. It's the shaking it off. And it's actual shaking. It's not just, let's just shake it a little bit. No, it's actually shaking your body to shake off the trauma, the stuff, the whatever it is that I think we all just need to dance. We all need to start dancing and be whimsical. That's what I'm talking about. Fun and get together and eat and, and dance and nobody talking. Nobody talking. But here I am talking. So
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here to hear, listen. In your book, what's your favorite encounter in your book?
Oh, goodness.
I know.
So I put my book together. I started in 2019, and all this stuff was very private.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure I wanted anybody to know about it. So the first part is from when I'm 15, 16, and God just showing me. I mean, I can look back now and I know what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part is more advanced, I guess. And my husband was the one that said there's two parts to this, because I'm I got to have this guy read this because he doesn't know any of this.
Yes.
And then, I handed it to him and I'm I think you need to read this before I publish it. Because, and then I had my girls read it because I didn't really share, right? It wasn't safe or whatever. And so the favorite one is when I was at the Portal. The Portal was this beautiful house church that turned into this big.
I'd been there a couple times.
Yeah. I mean, it was just a water hole. All the river swimmers, all the people in their little caves, all the mystics, all the, came. And there was just this free flow stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then it started people started coming in and you have to blah, blah, blah. And then, the leaders were maybe we should blah, blah, blah. And I'm no, don't blah, blah, blah. So trying to put structure on it, trying to put a grid on something that's free and open and special. And so worship was going on. And it was all these big couches, right? And chairs. And so I was sitting on the other side of the room in this big, big, comfy chair. And I get pulled into the chair and I can feel myself, I'm already there and I'm on my horse, wisdom. And Jesus is in front of me and we're riding. Man, we are riding. I'm where are we going? We're riding. We stop and the door to my past appears and he goes, we're just going to shut that. Don't open it, And so we're riding. So then, and what's weird is that when the room is exploding, I mean, people were dancing and laughing and rolling on the floor. I mean, it was crazy. And I'm in the chair and then people start to think that something's happening, you need prayer or you need something. And so they come up and they start wanting to touch you and stuff. And I'm in this encounter and I can't tell you to leave me alone. Right. And then this one girl, after a while, and one person came up in my face and I was just and I was gone. I wasn't even there. And this one girl, she came and she sat down. She saw what was happening. She sat down. She grabbed my hand. She comes in my vision. She comes in my vision and I was whoa, how did that happen? And her horse appears and I throw her on her horse and I'm let's ride. And so we start riding, and it was just crazy because there's all this stuff going on and we're in here riding with Jesus. I don't even really know what we were doing. And then this other guy came and sat and he was touching my feet and he didn't know how to ride. But he wanted to. So he comes in my vision, another person, and I throw him on his horse and he falls off. He goes, I don't know how. And I said, so I throw him on, I strap him on, and I'm like, just follow, just let it go, man. Surrender. Just open your, surrender to the flow, right? I have to paint that, surrender to the flow. And we just rode, and it was like, we were on like ground that had like rock caves and stuff, and then all of a sudden we're in space and we are going, and there's stars and light, traveling, and we're just, I don't even know. And then I don't know how we came out of it, but it was the first time that someone had joined me inside my, I don't know if you call it a dream, vision, whatever. Yeah. And that was really special. And then afterwards, when we kind of came to, I guess, I can't remember her name. I looked at her and she's like, whoa, what? And I'm like, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, what? So, and I think a lot of people aren't open to that. Because my husband, he has a hard time because he's like, I don't do that. I don't have those kind of things. I'm like, well, how do you like to be? How does God talk? God talks to me the way he talks to me, but he's not going to talk to him like he talks to me to you, because you like spreadsheets and you like it all structured, and that's how he's going to come. He's going to come with your spreadsheet. He's going to come with how you like it, all detailed and, structured. And so I don't know. That's a question for me, is it something that you grow into? That you read some of these stories and you go, oh, I can do that too. That's not far off. Oh yeah, I did have that one thing that happened. And then maybe that'll spark some kind of, what is it? IHOP used to say, provoke to jealousy, right? You have these instances where you, oh, God did this. And then you go, oh, I want that. Some people go, I want that, and that. No, some people go, oh, wait, I want that. I want that too. That's what this is for me. This whole book is to provoke you to want that, to have that. Kathy Walters is the first one that was like, this should be normal. This should be normal. And, this should be the way that we live, having encounter all the time, living in this. And I think that's what sons do, is that we wake up and we learn how to, I call it manifest now. We used to call it calling the unseen into the seen realm. And then Ian called it frame your world. And then it's just manifesting stuff. It's just, but the church doesn't teach you how to do it. It's a journey learning how to do that. And so, yeah.
I want to reiterate your encounter and riding on the horse and going through the different dimensions that you and your horse go, and you taking people with you. Hello, type and shadow of Mount of Transfiguration. So that's the coolest thing about Jesus going up and actually encountering himself, his immortal self. But the cool thing is that he took people with him.
Right.
Took people with him.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yet he took people with him.
Yeah.
So it's like, hello, this is so good. You can always take people with you.
Right. Yeah. I kind of stopped wanting to take anybody with me because I used to have open arms. Oh, let's go forward. And people will bite you if they don't want, and it's more about, it's been a switch for me, like being an example instead of going, oh, let's all go forward, and letting whoever wants to do that. And I think the ones that want to do that will find us, right? Instead of putting myself in positions where that's not happening. That's for me is the big shift in the last, I'd say 18 months, is letting go. Well, I was I only had 3 friends. Everyone else just kind of, I don't know, they just disappeared. It's like, I have 3. At least I have 3. And it's very supportive and very encouraging, especially through the whole journey. But it made space for what's happening now, and I started, speaking out what I want. I want this kind of community. I want these kind of people supporting and loving and encouraging and building community together and frolicking and being whimsical and eating and sharing and nobody jealous of one another, nobody looking at somebody going, you can't do that, or that's not in our manual, or so it's opening up this whole community for me of people that I've manifested, that coming to me what I desire, right? And those kind of relationships and those kind of people in my life that can handle, I don't know. I think there's such a separation right now of the divide. I mean, it's been happening, I think, since the Mayan calendar ran out. This is just me. And the divide and coming into this new era, it takes a long time. It's not just one day that we head into the age of Aquarius. We're actually right here, right now. And I know I chose it because this is like exciting. This is exciting because we're here like to build with each other and build community together. But you do have to let the old go. You do have to let that go. So, yeah.
This is so refreshing. Refreshing. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be free in my expression.
You're very welcome.
Which is not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very refreshing that I'm able to do that, because I think speaking and, the hidden things inside us, right? These are dear, precious things in my heart. And when you start to express that, those who are attracted to that come towards you, and they may not look like you want them. They might look different. It's
Mm-hmm.
I'm in these communities with these people who they might not, their sources, let's call it, their source is different, right? And so I'm in there and I'm just, here, buy my book.
Yes.
Oh, mystic, and they're grabbing it. And then, how'd you like it? In fact, one girl, she's amazing. She's the one that does sound baths. And she was reading through my book. And because I had in the front, I talked about Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure I didn't ask, because I felt her frequency and vibration. And she's actually changed my life. I'm telling you, just shifted everything for me. And she got my book and she was like, Yahweh, I knew it. And so I was like, okay. And then she started talking about the Seraph, the publishing, and how she's seen the seraphim and blah, 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 and she goes, I got to talk to you, about all this. So it's, I remember we used to like, Doug Addison was like, you need to locate people, and he would do this thing where you locate people, but I'm not locating anybody anymore. I know that I'm divinely protected. I know that. I know God saves me from doing things I shouldn't do, that I want to, that being around things, and, I'd go to places and I go, I don't want to be here, but now I don't, I'm protected from, I think we all are, right? And it's the frequencies that are, attracting each other. Like, you can't be over here with that because the frequency is not right. It doesn't mean they're bad or they're whatever. It's just a different frequency than what I'm at right now. And I find that really refreshing and non-judgmental, and no pointing your finger. I was in some weird thing. I don't even know how I got there. And they were doing some stuff. And I was like, and I'm sitting there and I feel Holy Spirit behind me. And I have a huge angel. I have Michael behind me and he's always got my back. Yeah, thank you so much. And I feel the Holy Spirit wrap around me and I'm like, what's going on? What's going on here? Should I leave? He's like, no, just listen. I'm like, okay, but I'm not going to do that, what they were doing. And he goes, no, you don't have to do that. Just sit here and listen. And I was like, okay, I can listen. And I just felt him kind of giggle. And cause I'm like, oh, I want to know, I want to know who I'm supposed to reach with what I'm doing. And it's going out into these areas that, whatever. Yeah. You think you're a Stargate? Man, so am I. I'm a Stargate. Somebody called me, what did they call? They call me an ascended master. And I was like, what is that? And then I thought, yeah, I am. Tell him I am. I don't even know what that is, but yes, definitely. So anytime anyone's saying something, I'm like, yes, I am. I am. Yes, I'm all of it. We're all of it. We just have different expressions. Anyway, it's been interesting and been fun. And it's been such a powerful thing for me to feel this freedom of surrendering to the flow instead of reacting to things and looking at things differently. Like something happens and I'll look at it and go, huh, all right, I guess we're going to do that, and okay, what does that mean? And what am I supposed to learn? What's the key? And, looking at it differently, and it's like changed my life. It's, instead of reacting and going into survival, Sarah's taking over. Sarah's like, you got this, girl. You got it. Just chill. Lay down for a minute. Lay down, create something. Go paint. Yeah.
Go paint. Yeah. I have one final question here. This is interviewing Jesus, right?
Right. Exactly.
If you could ask Jesus one question, so he's sitting right here with us, in you, in me, with us, about this new era we're walking into, what would it be? And what would he whisper back to you right now?
My question, I don't even really know if I have a question. I feel such a foundational grounding that's happened in the last 3 years that I don't know if I have a question, because I'm so engaged in the now and the mindfulness and I'm so surrendered, released to the flow, trusting his guidance, trusting his leadership. I don't know. That's an interesting question, because I don't know. Like, what's next? Maybe that's what's next. I feel like I've done all these things that I thought it would take me to the end of my lifetime, but they happened in 2020, the end of in the fall 2025. They all came out, and I was like, okay, what's next? And he's like excitement. And I feel like all of us are headed into this ease of ways of doing things. Things are starting to synchronize. I'm starting to notice a heavy synchronization of my desires. like not even thinking it. Oh, there's that part. Oh, there's that. Oh, wait, what? Oh, those colors, I mean, just, and I think, okay. In my book club, we're doing Think and Grow Rich by, what's her name? Pam Grout. And
it's Think and Grow Rich.
not think, it's being thankful and grateful. And it's shifted everything.
Yeah.
And so I have this thing on the side of my bed that says something amazing, exciting, and something surprising, amazing, and amazingly awesome is headed my way today. And it makes everything be magical. And so I think my question is, what's next? But not what's next. It's like, what's next?
There you go.
But like, what do we get to do? I think we're already co-creating.
Absolutely.
We've been in it. Well, we're learning, right? Because it's like we landed on Mars and went, I don't know what to do, all of us. And we're like, well, let's start over here and let's take care of that pile right there, And so as we get more experience in co-creating, and we've been doing that for a while, those of us who are like in training, or you want to call it, in school, and I feel like you graduated.
Yeah, but we always graduate and end up going as a rookie in kindergarten. Again, it's just never ending.
I don't know. I feel this time's different.
Is it?
Yeah, it's such a different thing. And I don't know. I think every person's different, right? Where you're at. But it's a magical time, I think. I think rewards are coming. I think as we awaken and step into who we're created to be, who we're created to become, right? The becoming is that all that starts to sync and align, and then everything opens up in front, right? All the distractions go, it starts to, and then you can just frolic and skip down the yellow brick road or whatever, and in fact, when I left France, and one of the last worship nights that we did, this was like in 2005, and I was crying because I was leaving. I hated going there and I didn't want to be there. And then I'm crying leaving because it was so amazing. And the Lord goes, the latter will be greater. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't see it, and it's true. The latter that's coming is greater. It's like, it's coming and it's greater. And we're going to build that. That's why we're here. We chose it and we're going to build it. And that's why we connect, right? That's why when you go, oh, wow, I love what you do. And you're so blah, 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 and encouraging and refreshing, all that stuff. And then, you don't just go away and not, continue that. I think this is really profound today for me with you, especially today, for all kinds of reasons. But I think we make an arc.
I won't argue with you.
And timing is always perfect, right? I love divine timing. Because if you just wait for it, it shows up and you go, oh, that was perfect.
So I'm going to leave us a statement, because when you were talking, because I see things, and I know
Yes, you do.
you're a teacher. And so when you were saying, well, I don't really have a question, I saw that being written out. I don't really have a question. But the profound part is, let's end. Because I think we get caught in the structure or the grammar of like, it's a question mark. Oh, it's a question. What happens if we remove the grammar of the way that we always began, entered into, anything and just had the freedom and courage to be brave enough to let the sentence continue on.
Right. That's what I feel like. I feel like the I used to, well, I think that was the time we were in, right? I used to do, and then I could see ahead, right? Because that's what I'm building towards. I could always see ahead. Always. I always knew where I was going. And now I don't know. I just don't. And I don't know if it's because I don't really care anymore. Because I know my pathway is different than what it was. Sarah the energy of her is different than Bracy. And I think we're in a different time period. It's time era. I don't even know. Words are so lame sometimes. We're using old words to describe like where we're headed. And yeah,
May I share this one point with you, Bracy?
absolutely.
I think you're getting kind of close to painting on that. What was it, a number 3 canvas?
Yes.
I think that there's something to that.
I think there is too.
Yeah, because I know this,
Yeah.
canvases are much more expensive. So you start with how much value is already there.
Right. Yeah.
That's where you start. And you have the encouragement, and God has been building up in you that the colors, the strokes, how to communicate onto that level of value.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. It's they're a little intimidating, but not really. A little bit. I'm getting kind of weirded out with each of the canvases saying, I want to paint this. And they're like, no, you don't. It's like, what? No, I want to paint the Van Gogh church. No, you're not. You're going to paint the sea.
We've had such a refreshing and free conversation. Bracy, how can our listeners connect with you, and how can they find your book?
Well, my book is on Amazon, and there is a code. There's a link, I think, for the book. And no matter where you are in the world, you can find it. It's in like 20 different places in the world. My husband went and searched for that. It's in Mexico and Greece and Australia. And he's like, oh my God, it's here. It's here.
It is.
And so, yeah.
And those links will be in our show notes to make it easy for our listeners.
And you can also, if
Yes?
you want to order a print of the painting, you can do that too. Just, you can message me on Facebook or Instagram, or I'm on TikTok too. I just started my YouTube channel, like October, November, I think. So there's some music videos up that are from the CD that I recorded in 2012. And I do have 500 of those left. So
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that.
I will have all those links.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm pretty responsive.
Find you.
You know where to find me. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the blessing of hearing your heartbeat today.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity. I feel my heart is glad.
Good.
And I just, as people are moving forward in their life, switching the way you think about yourself, the thoughts that are in your head, the affirmations you you think, oh, it's just little stuff. It's very, very important, and it's important for your future and for you coming into being confident to who you are and who you're becoming. Because we're all becoming, right? We're all moving, we're all growing, we're all evolving. And so I would say, just be careful of your thoughts and the way you talk to yourself and how you take care of yourself. It's very important. You're needed. And no matter what age you are, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen.
Wow. What a deep, refreshing, non-judgmental space we got to sit in today. Bracy, Thank you for sharing your heartbeat with us so transparently. Listeners, if there is one thing to carry into your Monday morning from Bracy's story, it's the image of her riding on the horse named Wisdom alongside of Jesus. The reality that Jesus is inviting you to ride along and take others with you. It is time to let go of the matrix of survival, stepped onto your own level 3 canvas, and trust the divine frequency of who God made you to be. Remember, you do not have to carry the pressure alone. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is simply lie down, rest, and let Holy Spirit catch you in the uncreated darkness. All of Bracy's links, including her beautiful book, A Mystic's Journey, her original art prints, and her music, are right down in the show notes below. Go grab yourself a copy, dive into your own encounters, and as always, stay spiritually brave. I will talk to you again next time. Bye now.